Thank you for joining us for our Young Ones to Watch series. Can you just start out by introducing yourself and telling me a little bit about your role within your company?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. And as you said, I'm Austin Titus. I'm the president of Network Lead Exchange, which is a business networking and business referral franchise, part of the United Franchise Group brands, which consists of 10 different brands with about 1,600 franchises in 80 different countries. Um, Most of my background is in franchising. A little bit about myself. My dad actually started United Franchise Group with Sinorama in 1986. And so I kind of grew up in the business. Even when I was in college, I worked for a couple of our franchise owners with Sinorama and with another one of our brands, Fully Promoted, selling all kinds of different marketing solutions and services for a few years. And then after college, I came in to our headquarters here in West Palm Beach and worked full time in franchise development. And I ran our franchise development department for a few years as the director of franchise development, was the director of our broker relations department, and managed the whole franchise sales marketing budget for all of our brands. After that, I actually helped start our emerging brands division, and ran that for a couple of years. That consists of a few of our brands that had less than 50 franchises. At the time, it was Network Lead Exchange, a brand called Super Green Solutions, and a brand called Prevere. I did that for a few years and ultimately went into being the brand leader of Network Lead Exchange. And that's currently what I do. And with Network Lead Exchange, we have about 50 franchises now in 15 different states and Canada. So we're excited about that.
Awesome. So, our next question is, how did you get into franchising and how old were you when you started? I feel like for you, that's going to be a little bit different of an answer than some of the other people that just kind of got into franchising on their own. Can you talk about, obviously, if you want to address the questions directly, but also how kind of the family involvement in the franchising space impacted your upbringing and kind of you getting into the industry?
Yeah. And so it actually starts even further back than just my dad. My grandpa, Roy Titus, actually started a brand called Minuteman Press back in the late 60s, early 70s. And that brand has close to 1,000 locations, and my dad grew up in franchising as well. And so I'm actually the third generation of franchising here. And so the way I got started was, as I said before, in college, I actually worked for some of the franchise owners that we were associated with, the brands that we were associated with, Sinorama and Fully Promoted. We own and operate both of those brands, but I was working independently for the franchise owner. So I got to kind of know the business from that level, but it started well before that. My dad would always come home and talk about franchising and, actually tell us about the business. And so, at a young age, I knew probably much more than the average person knows about franchising. That's even in the industry. And so I got started really early in franchise development right after college and started to learn more about franchise sales, franchise marketing, legal processes of it. And so it was from the age of 16 to 20 is when I did a lot of my learning on franchising.
Mhm. That's awesome. Is there something about your history that is kind of unique to your story? Obviously, again, outside of the family name, that you feel like is important or that has influenced you as you've kind of grown along this trajectory?
Yeah, I would say, obviously it's the family, like you just said, but the fact that we have a lot of different family. It's not just my family business with my dad. I have two brothers in the business. My older brother AJ is the president of Sinorama. My younger brother Andrew is our executive vice president for Sinorama as well, and Fully Promoted. And we have three cousins in the business. My oldest cousin Brady is our COO. And so we have a lot of family and family friends in the business. And, something that we always say, it's a family owned business that's like a family. And so that's something that really makes us different and something that has really changed my perspective on the business and has really changed the way that we all work here. So that's definitely impacted me a lot.
Yeah, that's great. What is a milestone or accomplishment that you're most proud of?
Yeah, so there's a couple, in business and personal. As we're having this meeting, I actually just had my first baby, my first child. She was born about 9 days ago now. So I have a 9-day old child at home, and so I'm very proud of that. And my wife and everything she's done for us and with us. And but in business, I'd say my span of about 3-4 years in franchise development, running our franchise development department for United Franchise Group. And during that, 3-4 year period, we closed more deals than we ever have closed in, the past 25 to 28 years of being in business with the United Franchise Group. And just the way that franchising has evolved and how we've evolved in franchising. So you've seen, if you look back at United Franchise Group's history, we're mostly B2B businesses, Sinorama, Fully Promoted, Transworld Business Advisors, and traditional B2B type businesses. And we've gotten into so many different types of businesses, mostly all while I was running our franchise development department, getting into the food industry with the Great Greek Mediterranean Grill, with Gray's Craze, Network Lead Exchange, as we've talked about a little bit before. And so all kinds of different brands, Venture X, co-working, Office Evolution, co-working. That's been a huge obstacle that we had to overcome, being used to talking to a specific type of person and really broadening what we do at United Franchise Group, when we market to prospective franchisees.
Mhm. Yeah. And moving forward, are there any goals that you're specifically looking to meet or anything kind of on the horizon that you're excited about?
Yeah, one thing that's super exciting about our company is we're adding a brand almost every single year.
Wow.
And we really have started to focus in on what we're really good at United Franchise Group. And when we acquire a brand or we start a brand here, we like to find, you know, what works for us. And so it's really exciting to be a part of a company that, obviously is our family business, but we're very forward thinking and always looking to grow and always looking to expand into what the next best thing is. And while also maintaining and keeping our other brands extremely relevant, and not only relevant, but dominant in their industry.
Mhm. Perfect. As someone who has been so successful in the industry at such a young age, is there anything that you've seen that kind of makes a successful person in the franchise industry, whether that's, on the franchisor side, as a franchisee, somewhere in the middle? What are those attributes that stand out to you?
Yeah, on the franchisor side, nobody comes into franchising with franchise experience. Everyone starts somewhere, and so there's obviously different levels of that. And so when you get into franchising, most people will have experience in a certain area, but then have to learn the franchising part of it, and that's perfectly fine. Usually, that starts in some type of franchise development position, and people grow from there. But there's a lot of opportunity in franchising, and so as long as someone getting into franchising is really a go-getter, wants to work really hard and grow with a brand, whichever brand they're with, they can be very successful in franchising. From a franchisee perspective, when someone's looking to purchase a franchise or become a franchise owner, it's somebody that needs to follow a system, that wants to uh, actually learn from the franchisor and take the successful model and put their own personality into it as well. And so someone that wants to build a local business but really wants to focus on duplicating that successful model, I think that's where a lot of people make the mistake, is they think that they know it all. They have to go into the franchisor's training program as if they don't know anything, and try to learn everything from scratch. So that's what I would say.
Awesome. And then one last piece of advice. What would you say to young up and comers in the industry?
Yeah, and kind of like a little bit of what I just said, it's still an industry that has a ton of potential. It's not anywhere near its capacity, and franchising has really just exploded over the last decade. And I don't think it's tapped even 5% of its potential. You see all different types of businesses out there. We've proven that anything could be franchised if it has the right system, it has the right management, ownership. Any type of concept could be franchised, and you can find a career in franchising most of the time, whether that's being a franchisee, franchisor, a franchise vendor or supplier. There's a lot going on in the franchise industry that people just simply don't understand, and sometimes it takes going to one of those franchise shows or going to an IFA, International Franchise Association convention, to see how big the industry really is. You see all of the people that are involved in franchising. One thing that we've done recently in over the last few years is get more involved at Palm Beach Atlantic University with the Titus Center for Franchising. And that's been a real blessing for us in teaching the next generation of franchising, where we actually are able to offer a business degree with a focus in franchising and have been building on that program over and over. And we've been really happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good nugget. And it's really exciting to see kind of how the industry can expand and where it's going, the potential that lies within it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us and thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again for having me. I really appreciate it.